what happened at first was everybody was just so afraid. Like, right, we were getting those photos from China and some videos and stuff like that. It was like, this thing is coming to America. When is it going to pop up? There was cases, and then you hear that a player in the NBA has it and had spread it to his teammates. And so because of the way that it was portrayed in the media, it was just such a fearful time. I feel like everybody was walking on eggshells, thinking about when they were going to get it.
I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is a professional basketball player for the Orlando Magic and author of the new book, Why I Stand, Jonathan Isaac. Welcome to the Rubin Report.
What's up, Dave, man? I'm excited to be here, excited to talk to you. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. This is sort of your second time on the Rubin Report because I was in Orlando back in, what was it? That was end of October, and I was doing this NatCon event, and I was like, hey, Jonathan Isaac's in Orlando. Maybe I can drag him on stage. And then you spoke in front of about 500 conservatives. That was a little odd for you, but you pretty much brought the house down.
Man, it was weird. First time kind of outside of like church, but like really speaking in front of people. And then it being, a conservative event. It was dope though. Everybody was great. I had a great time just learning and listening and getting a chance to talk to you and kind of just continue to push forward my message.
So let's start off with some basketball stuff, because you know that my dream was to be an NBA player. You accomplished my dream, and you're pretty good at what I do. That's what I said to you on stage. You could be doing the talking thing for a living, but you made it to the NBA, and we also have something else in common. We both have a torn ACL, so that has taken you out for these last 2 seasons. Is it left or right knee for you?
Left knee.
Left knee for me too. Tell me a little bit about just growing up playing hoops. Did you always want to be in the NBA? Did you think you could make it to the NBA? Just the challenges there before we get into the book specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the book does a great job of just telling that story of growing up in Bronx, New York, and playing at the rec center and the park with my dad. And there is when I really just kind of like fell in love with the game. Not so much scoring and all that stuff, just the art of watching guys, do what they do on the basketball court. I was like, man, it's so cool to watch them go left to right and all these different things. But I didn't know anything about basketball in the grand scheme of things. So nothing about college, nothing about the NBA, nothing about conferences. There's one story in the book where I'm getting recruited to go to college to play ball. And the coach is saying, do you know what conference we're in? And I'm like, well, what's a conference? Because I didn't know, and I think that really speaks to how much I didn't even think that it could be a possibility for me to get to the NBA. So it really, to me, is like a God thing that I'm here, because I'd never believed in it. And so, I fell in love with it. I pretty much put everything that I had into it, became the #1 player in the state of Florida, getting out of high school to college, and then, was a 6th pick to the Orlando Magic.
Did you always have great skills, or was it kind of learned, or a little bit of both?
I say all learned, really. I love to watch the guys on the TV, but I could never, do anything like that on the court. The first time I got to play on an AAU team, they kicked me off the team without even telling me, and that's how bad I was. And so my ride to practice just stopped coming to pick me up. But it was definitely learned. Like, I got my first coach that really was like taking an interest in me because of my size. Was Bora, and he's in the book as well. And, he was the first one to teach me the fundamentals and develop. And from there, it was just like riding a bike. I kind of just, because I was watching so much and I found that passion in liking the way that guys moved. I kind of just picked it up and kind of went from there.
Were you tall immediately, or were you late spurt, or what?
I had a decent, I guess like a journey of a spurt. It wasn't all at one time, but I was always, more so the biggest person in my class, especially through the younger years. Once I got to high school, I was probably 6 foot 6'1" my freshman year. And then each year I jumped up 3 or 4 inches, and then I got to, 7 foot.
Who are your heroes, basketball heroes growing up? Who are the guys that you were like, oh man, I want to do that. I want to model it after that?
I loved KD. Great player still, but it's different now being able to play against him. But yeah, I love the fact that he was such a big player, but was a guard pretty much. And so him, Dirk, PG, guys that I watch all the time. And I think I watched KD before every high school game, before every college game. Yeah.
And tell me about that moment. You get you're at draft night, and they say your name, and your life changes, just like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. But for me, it was it was weird because everybody else around me seemed like they knew what was going on. Like they were ready for the moment. They had, what they were going to do afterwards. They're going to go party. They were going to go celebrate with their families. Like everyone took it in stride. But for me, it was like I don't know what to do. So I kind of just, after I got drafted, I walked to a pizza shop down the street. It was in New York, with Coach Gates, who's a big part of my life, and one of my agent's assistants, and we got a pizza, and I went back to the hotel room and and sent my family home on an Uber, and then went in my rooms. It was kind of just like it was weird. I didn't know, it just all went by so fast as well.
And it must have been pretty sweet for you, as you said, you played ball in Florida, then to be drafted by Orlando, you get to keep it in Florida, and you seem to have a great connection with the state.
Yeah, I love the state of Florida, and I've come to appreciate it more and more, especially as the world has gotten crazier and crazier. So, I'm a fan of DeSantis and what he's been able to do. But yeah, I love Florida. I'm glad that I'm here. I feel like it's a God ordained thing for me to be here from middle school till now, and I love the state.
All right, so let's pick it up right there, because you mentioned DeSantis and then the Florida situation, and what put you on my radar was, it's got to be almost 2 years ago now, pretty early on into the pandemic. NBA was one of the first leagues that just completely shut down out of nowhere. In some ways, it was the first big thing that did it, that then led to so many other institutions closing down. You were one of the first guys out there that was like, hey, could we slow down with some of this? Or maybe I don't want to be necessarily injected with this thing, or I'm going to make some choices for myself, et cetera, et cetera. So first, could you just talk a little bit about what it was like when you were hearing that things were going to change and that the league was shutting down before it got, because it all didn't happen at once. That the vaccine stuff started happening a little bit later than that.
Right. So I think what happened at first was everybody was just so afraid. Like, right, we were getting those photos from China and some videos and stuff like that. It was like, this thing is coming to America. When is it going to pop up? There was cases, and then you hear that a player in the NBA has it and had spread it to his teammates. And so because of the way that it was portrayed in the media, it was just such a fearful time. I feel like everybody was walking on eggshells, thinking about when they were going to get it. And so once the NBA had shut down, we had time to kind of just, I think we went on a quarantine, really. I think right around that time, at least Florida had like a curfew. It wasn't a complete, lockdown, but we had a curfew that you had to be in your house. And it was just a weird time. But, social media wasn't a big help because of all the things that were spreading and going around. And so I just tried my best to try to take a step back and just watch everything. There was an early hesitation with me because of the way that things were being portrayed. It seemed like everything was so forced and made to be fearful for everyone to kind of be running around like chickens with their head cuts off. So I kind of just took a step back and said, let me watch. And then we get to the bubble, and then after that we get to, okay, now there's a vaccine on the scene, and that we get a little later.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversations about politics instead of nonstop yelling, check out our politics playlist. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist, all right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.